And again, his red line was the killing of protesters, and that already happened and was crossed. So I suspect failed negotiations will result in a second strike. And
President Trump meeting today with the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at the White House. Netanyahu hoping to persuade the U.S. to end Iran's ballistic missile and proxy support program. It would seem as though the regime is very worried about President Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu and the power of the Israeli Air Force to team up.
Iran has never been weaker than they are right now. The one thing you don't want to do is you don't want to send all these resources over there and then still have the Iranian regime standing.
If talks don't work out, he said, either we will make a deal or we will have to do something very tough like last time. We have an armada that is heading there and another one might be going. The president's suggesting that another American aircraft carrier strike force group might be making its way to the region.
The military support is definitely on the way, as the next likely steps to include maximum pressure as the negotiations are going to be breaking down. I'm just making my own prediction here. I think that these increased presence in the Persian Gulf and deploying these aircraft carriers is nothing more than a precursor to what's going to happen. Military escalation. President Trump has indicated that there's been a failure to lead to something productive in these talks, I think behind closed doors, and he's saying something very tough is coming. I don't think that it's stopping. I think it's coming. So maximum economic pressures being applied, increased regional presence is there. The Iranian reaction, of course, is going to be a false sense of bravado, and the international involvement is going to almost seem irrelevant.
If talks don't work out, he said, either we will make a deal or we will have to do something very tough like last time. We have an armada that is heading there and another one might be going. The president's suggesting the regime is very worried about President Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu and the power of the Israeli Air Force to team up.
well, they certainly ought to be, but I'm not sure they're sufficiently motivated to conclude. As President Trump has stated, when a deal's on the table, as Maduro can tell you now that he's in custody in the Southern District in New York, you probably ought to take it. I'm not sure the Iranians are paying heed to that, and they may well pay another price for it. And again, his red line was the killing of protesters, and that already happened and was crossed. So I suspect failed negotiations will result in a second strike. And again, I think Iran is in fact at the weakest point that it's been. And the goal of the first Trump administration, and I think now, is to remove it as an obstacle to peace and stability in the region. And it is closer now than it has ever been.
There was nothing definitive reached other than I insisted that negotiations with Iran continue to see whether or not a deal can be consummated. If it can, I let the prime minister know that will be a preference. If it cannot, we will just have to see what the outcome will be.
We're in an interesting crossroads right now. Trump just said last week that the Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khomeini said that the United States should be very worried. Well, I can understand this type of bolstering and this type of talk coming from somebody whose back is against the wall. And I realize that this is not the Venezuelan situation and this is not Maduro, that this is Iran, and it's going to take a much stronger, bolder attack on them to get this thing to come to a resolution. Thank you for being a part of our channel. Subscribe if you would. American News Network, thanks.